This is one of the weirdest video topics that I've ever gone out there and explored. Because today, what we're doing is we're talking about prospects in the Montreal Canadiens and Toronto Maple Leafs systems, and in a way, this also affects the Florida Panthers and Ottawa Senators, but today we're talking about some drama going on in the ECHL. Because, via a report made on lenouveliste.ca, there's a very real possibility that the Trois-Rivières Lions will not finish their ECHL season in 2023-2024. Now, wait a minute, hold up, that is a crazy headline. What does that even mean here? Well, the Trois-Rivières Lions are the ECHL affiliate for the Montreal Canadiens. There are a few guys in the Habs prospect system that are playing for the Lions, and when it comes to this article, it is in French. I translated it into English, and it says that according to information from Le Nouveliste, the fate of the Lions will be decided at a meeting of ECHL governors on April 2nd. What needs to be understood is that there will be no sale of the team concluded by Deacon Sports and Entertainment. Additionally, the Newfoundland team will not have repaid its debt by the deadline. At this time, it will be the ECHL which will take over the Trois-Rivières organization, as well as the Newfoundland Growlers, two teams which belong to DSE for a few days. The governors of the circuit, led by Commissioner Ryan Crellin, will then have to decide whether they agree to allow the Trois-Rivières club to complete its 23-24 calendar. Now, what exactly does that mean? There's a lot going on here, and even if you scroll down into the article, honestly, because it's French translated into English, a lot of it isn't really put together in the best way. So what I'm also going to do is I'll leave a link in the description to this one article on ProHockeyRumors.com by Josh Erickson. It was published earlier this morning. It's from an English-speaking source, and it has a lot more of a simpler explanation as to what's going on, one that's easier to read out loud and talk about in a YouTube video here. So yeah, sometimes simplicity is better when appealing to a mass audience, but either way, this article goes out there and talks about the same two teams, the Newfoundland Growlers and the Trois-Rivières Lions. They are at risk of folding before the end of the 2023-2024 season because the clubs are majority owned by Deacon Sports and Entertainment, which is nearing bankruptcy and owes the city of Trois-Rivières more than $600,000. The ECHL has set a deadline for DSE to sell the two teams by April 2nd. However, the sale of both franchises is unexpected to happen in time. The ECHL's Board of Governors, led by Commissioner Ryan Crellin, will meet Tuesday to decide whether to allow them to play out the rest of the season. Regardless, the league will absorb ownership of the two franchises after the April 2nd deadline. So essentially, the party that owns both the Newfoundland Growlers and the Trois-Rivières Lions in the ECHL is bankrupt, and they have a lot of debt, and they're getting forced to sell off these teams, unfortunately to no definitive buyers at the time of recording this audio. Both teams, though, have 10 or fewer remaining games in the regular season schedule. The Growlers and the Lions are both in the league's North Division and are part of a tight race to claim the final two playoff spots available with Maine, Reading, and Worcester. All 5 clubs are within 5 points of each other. As Vachon points out, it's worth noting that each team will have a representative at the Board of Governors meeting that will help decide the Growlers and Lions' fate, and it's fair to assume those in the playoff hunt could help swing a vote towards not allowing the clubs to finish this season. This is what happens when you have things go on in the midst of a big playoff hunt, right? Kind of weird that they're doing all these meetings and stuff now, but I guess weirder things have happened. I mean, it's not too uncommon in the NHL to have Board of Governors meetings and everything happen. I mean, we just had one recently in Florida. So this, of course, just happens to have a much more dire circumstance attached to it, and a deeper and more damning conversation when it comes to one of their, or two of their teams, excuse me. The article then goes out there and talks about success. It talks about how the Growlers have been one of the better teams in the ECHL, how the Lions have only existed for a few years, but now they may be stopped for a little bit. Let's talk about the players that are on these teams, though, because when you go over to the Lions, there are 3 Montreal Canadiens prospects that are listed on this roster. Firstly, you have Jakub Novak, who is not under contract with the Montreal Canadiens, but who was acquired by the team in a trade with the Ottawa Senators earlier this year. It was a pretty small trade. He got sent over for future considerations, and now he's just chilling out as a member of the Canadiens prospect system, but one without a contract. He is 25 years old, so his rights will expire soon. You then talk about some of the other guys here. Miguel Tournier is on defense in the Trois Rivières system, and he's one of the prospects that I actually like a lot. He was taken by the Canadiens in the 7th round of the 2022 draft. He is also unsigned as a right-handed defenseman, small guy, 5'8", 22 years old, and he's gotten himself 35 points in 54 ECHL games this year. He actually played in Slovakia last season after wrapping up his QMJHL career, but Miguel Tournier is one of these guys that I actually did see a good amount of potential in. It's just, he's so small and he's a right-handed defenseman, so the fact that he is playing one of the most coveted positions in the sport while being, let's just say, more of an offensive-leaning guy, it was going to be interesting to follow his profile, mostly because, I love my small offensive defensemen. They do pretty good work. But he has been playing in the ECHL. We'll see if the Montreal Canadiens sign him. His rights do go on for a little bit more. So Tournier is one of these players that may be affected by the Lions' eventual departure. And then there is another player that is here too. Joe Vrbetic is a goaltender prospect drafted by the Montreal Canadiens back in the 2021 NHL entry draft. Also a 7th round guy and also unsigned. So a bunch of Canadiens prospects are indeed in this system. Most of them, though, without contracts, even though there are some names that you could say also exist and are pretty good in this system too. I mean, he's not there anymore, but the one that stands out to me always was Josh Brook, but unfortunately, his Montreal Canadiens career didn't really go too far. Then if you go over to the Newfoundland Growlers and see what's going on over there, there are some prospects that belong to NHL clubs, but not all of them are Toronto Maple Leafs prospects. In fact, only one of them is. Vyacheslav Peksa is a Maple Leafs guy, 21 years old, who is on the Growlers right now. He was initially drafted by the Maple Leafs in the 6th round in 2021, and he is signed, so they did tender this guy a contract. He just came over from Russia, and now he's playing with the Growlers with an .890 save percentage and a .369 goals against. The other two prospects that are on the Growlers happen to be for Florida and for Ottawa. You've got Nathan Staios, 22 years old from the Panthers, and Johnny Tachonic from the Ottawa Senators, which is really, really interesting because Tachonic was one of these guys that was seen to have a lot of potential. He was a 2nd rounder by the Sens back in 2018, and he spent a lot of time in the NCAA, not producing too many points, but eventually going over to the Growlers ECHL team and Marlies AHL team. He's technically an Ottawa Senators prospect, but he has been developing in the Toronto Newfoundland system for the past little while now. It's very strange. But of course, he is a little bit older than all these other guys, so his NHL future may not be all too guaranteed. But I'd say probably the most popular name out of both of these teams, really, Trois Rivières and Newfoundland, would be Newfoundland forward Brock Caulfield, who is indeed a part of this Growlers team. We did make a few videos talking about how Brock Caulfield had signed a contract with the Leafs affiliate and everything, and it was a pretty big deal. I mean, a lot of Canadiens fans like Cole Caulfield, so seeing Brock exhibit some success as well is nice. He has 30 points in 60 ECHL games right now, so maybe not the most definitive NHL projectable frame, but he's still a good enough player to stick around with the Growlers. It's just kind of unfortunate that for these guys, it seems like their hockey team might be coming to an end before the end of the season. This could be a really big deal for a lot of these prospects here, and while none of them are like super guaranteed NHL players to be, you don't want to see guys get their opportunities taken away, right? I mean, not everybody can be a Zach Hyman where you have all the privilege in the world because your dad is rich and buys a hockey league, right? I'm joking, by the way. I'm joking, poking fun at some Twitter drama that was going on the past few hours here. But either way, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about the ECHL affiliates for the Maple Leafs and the Canadiens and how both of these teams could be in some serious trouble. Thoughts in the comment section about these prospects as well. Tournier, Vrbetic, Brock Caulfield, Tachonic, Peksa. There are a lot of interesting names that have cycled around in this position, but let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. 99, and bye.